the heart of the sacred scriptures, the figure of the Antichrist emerges as an intriguing enigma, surrounded by prophecies and mysteries. The story begins in a time of uncertainties, where followers of the faith wonder about the true nature of the Antichrist. In Revelation 13:4 it is said, "And they worshipped the dragon who had given authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, 'Who is like the beast? Who can fight against it?'" This verse evokes a feeling of fear and expectation, as many believe that the arrival of the Antichrist is near, bringing with it an era of trials and challenges. The protagonists of this narrative are a group of faithful individuals, struggling against the despair and doubt that permeate their hearts. They gather in prayer, seeking understanding and divine protection, while the world around them seems to be falling apart. The tension is palpable, and the question that echoes among them is, are we ready to face what is to come? The atmosphere of curiosity increases as the characters delve deeper into the scriptures, trying to decipher the signs that announce the coming of the Antichrist. Each of them carries their own insecurities and hopes, creating a central dilemma that resonates with the spiritual struggle of many. As the group gathers in a small room lit only by candles, Maria, one of the faithful, expresses her fear. "Do you also feel that something is about to happen? The news seems increasingly grim," she says, her voice trembling. Joan, her longtime friend, responds, "Yes, Maria." In Matthew 24:21, it is written that there will be a great tribulation like never before. We need to be prepared. Difficulties begin to arise when Pedro, a member of the group, is confronted by his own doubt. "How can we have faith when everything around us seems to be falling apart?" he asks, distressed. The narrator observes the tension in the air as the others try to comfort him. "We must remember 2 Timothy 1:7, says Anna, trying to encourage him. "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline." Between sighs and prayers, each of the characters reflects on their insecurities. Maria thinks about her distant family and wonders if they are safe. Joan tries to maintain hope, but the shadow of doubt does not leave him. Meanwhile, Pedro struggles against despair, increasingly convinced that time is running out. The group, although united by faith, begins to feel the weight of the impending crisis approaching, each dealing with their own fears and questions. As the hours pass, the atmosphere becomes heavier. The group begins to realize that their choices not only affect themselves but also each other. The decision to gather in prayer during such uncertain times already generates controversy among them. "Why should we gather here when the world outside is in chaos?" Pedro questions, his voice filled with frustration. The tension between faith and fear begins to create fissures within the group's unity. Joan, who has always been the anchor of hope, finds himself struggling with his own doubt. "I thought having faith meant not questioning. But now, every time I look to the future, I feel we are rushing into something terrible." He reflects in silence. The narrator notices that Joan's internal struggle mirrors that of everyone present. External pressure, with news of catastrophes and despair spreading across the world, intensifies each person's internal battle. Anna tries to remain calm, but her uncertainty shows. "We need to stay together. That's what strengthens us," she says. But the idea that their meetings might be seen as an act of rebellion against the approaching powers makes her nervous. Uncertainty hangs in the air, and the choices each person makes begin to weigh on the group's shoulders, creating a climate of growing conflict. The passages from the scriptures echo in their minds, but the reality of the moment confronts them with a difficult truth. Faith, though strengthening, also carries a burden of responsibility and consequence. As days pass, external pressures increase. News of conflicts and natural disasters becomes more frequent. The group finds itself divided in their decisions. Maria, in a moment of despair, suggests abandoning their meetings. "If we continue like this, we might attract unwanted attention," she warns. Pedro, on the other hand, defends the need to maintain faith. "We must unite even more. In Hebrews 10:25, we are instructed not to neglect meeting together," he argues. Meanwhile, Joan struggles with his own internal crisis. I am beginning to question if we are doing the right thing, he confesses quietly. What if we are just deluding ourselves? The tension among the group members grows, and each wonders if the decisions they make will lead them to a path of salvation or condemnation. The narrator observes how the pressure of circumstances begins to shape the relationships and unity of the group. Decisions that once seemed simple have now become moral dilemmas, as each person carries the burden of their own uncertainties. The atmosphere is one of despair and hope, coexisting in a delicate balance, setting the stage for an inevitable climax, where faith and doubt will have to confront each other definitively. The tension reaches its peak when the group decides to gather at a decisive moment. João, seized by a wave of courage, stands up and says, "We need to face this together." In Ephesians 6:13, it is written that we must put on the full armor of God to stand against the devil's schemes. He feels his heart race, but the determination in his voice echoes in the room. If the Antichrist is indeed approaching, then we cannot let ourselves be shaken by doubt. We must be the light in the midst of darkness. The others look at him, with a mixture of admiration and apprehension. Maria, still nervous, asks, "What if we are doing everything wrong?" João, feeling the responsibility of the moment, responds, "We have to trust in God." In 1 Peter 5:7, he tells us to cast all our anxiety on him because he cares for us. Inspired by João's words, Anna raises her hands, asking everyone to join in prayer. Let's ask for direction and courage. In James 1:5, we are reminded that if we need wisdom, we should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. The group forms a circle, their voices intertwined in a fervent plea for strength and understanding. As the prayer resonates, an unexpected calm settles among them. The tension that once dominated the room begins to dissipate, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. However, doubt still lingers like a shadow, reminding everyone that the battle between faith and fear is not entirely resolved. The narrator observes how the group's unity strengthens, even amidst uncertainty, preparing the ground for the challenges yet to come. The prayer concludes and a reverent silence sets in. The group members begin to realize that despite the uncertainties, unity and faith can be a source of strength. Maria, feeling a new sense of relief, comments, "Perhaps the answer to our doubts lies in uniting no matter what happens." The idea that together they would be stronger starts to take shape in their minds. João, still reflecting on his words, thinks about the importance of trusting in God. He recalls Philippians 4:6-7, which says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This passage echoes in his mind, bringing a sense of peace he did not expect. The narrator observes how the dynamic among them begins to change. Pedro, who was once full of frustration, now feels encouraged by João's determination. He says, "If we are together, we can face anything. As it is written in Romans 8:31, if God is for us, who can be against us?" The atmosphere in the room transforms, and the tension that once weighed on them begins to lift. Anna, noticing the change, reflects on how faith can unite people in times of crisis. She thinks, "Perhaps our doubts are not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity to grow together." The idea that vulnerability can lead to collective strength becomes a new focus for the group. The unity that begins to form among them brings new hope, and even in the face of the unknown, they feel more prepared to face what is to come. The narrator realizes that, although difficulties still lie ahead, the decision to support one another is a significant step in their spiritual journey. The events culminate in a moment of reflection and gratitude. The group gathers to share their experiences and pray together, acknowledging that the journey does not end there but transforms into a new phase of growth and faith. The moral lesson becomes clear. True strength comes from unity and faith in God, as mentioned in Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, which says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up." but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Juon, in his final reflection, says, "I have learned that faith is not the absence of doubts, but the courage to face them together." The narrator concludes that, by internalizing this experience, the group strengthens and divine justice manifests in the form of a new purpose, showing that even amid difficulties, the light of hope can always shine through unity and faith. The story leaves a lasting message. Together they can face any challenge, confident that God is by their side. Reflecting on the journey they have lived, Juon realizes that faith is more than believing without questioning. It is a commitment to seek truth and light in the midst of darkness. He understands that by uniting, they become a strong and resilient body where each contributes their strengths and weaknesses. The Bible teaches us in Hebrews 10:24-25, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." This passage highlights the importance of fellowship and mutual support. The narrator, in turn, reflects on how these lessons can be applied in daily life. In difficult moments, it is vital to remember that we are not alone. Seeking the company of people who share the same faith can be a great comfort. When we unite in prayer and action, the strength of God manifests in us. The true essence of the Christian life lies in loving and serving others, as 1 John 4:19 teaches us. We love because he first loved us. Thus, the moral of the story becomes evident. Faith is not a solitary path, but a collective journey. As we face challenges together, supporting and encouraging one another, we can find the strength needed to overcome any obstacle. Life with its uncertainties becomes lighter when we share burdens and celebrate victories together. Unity and faith then become the compasses that guide us through the storm, reminding us that, regardless of circumstances, God will always be by our side, illuminating our path.